And we're back here, folks, on WrestleRant. I'm Graham Giason Matthews, and here on WrestleRant, I review all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network. For the next few weeks, we're talking about every installment in Armageddon history, and today we're talking about the 2002 installment. So kicking off the show, a Fatal 4-Way Elimination Tag Team match of the World Tag Team titles, Lance Cade and William Regal, the Dudley Boys, the then-champions Jericho and Christian, taking on Booker T and Goldust. A pretty fun matchup. Thankfully, they got rid of the Dudley Boys and Storm and Regal pretty early on. Love the Dudley Boys, but they had just reunited. Obviously, it was way too soon to be putting the belts right back on them, but still, their presence was appreciated. The elimination of the Dudley Boys was pretty anticlimactic. It was like reverse. I don't know if they botched or what, but it came out very oddly. So they were the first ones gone, then Storm and Regal. Once it came down to Jericho, Christian, Booker T, and Goldust, it was a really good match. The crowd is very much behind Goldust and Booker T to pick up the win. Ultimately, they did, scoring their first set of tag team titles. I think their reign ended maybe a week or two later at the hands of Storm and Regal, so they could push Booker T en route to WrestleMania. So, well, good for him, and it ended up in a bad feud anyway with Triple H and coming up short of winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 19. Goldust got the short end of the stick there. He had to break up with Booker T. They had a great thing going in that latter half of 2002. They found they were a money duo on Monday Night Raw, eventually winning the World Tag Team titles in this great moment, like I said, on the pay-per-view. And then they started pushing. They started pushing Booker T on his own. Goldust was, I think, gone from the company before WrestleMania even started, so kind of sucks for him, but still a good way to open the show. After that, we had Edge taking on A-Train. In an alright match, Edge was slowly getting over as a single star. He did pick up the win here via disqualification. A-Train used a chair on Edge to get himself disqualified. Edge attacked him afterwards anyway, so Edge not only won, but he got the upper hand in the end regardless. So A-Train did not really benefit from this whatsoever. I guess they probably wanted to protect A-Train. He would come out later in the night to help Big Show, or at least attempt to help Big Show retain his WWE Championship. But it just wasn't working. People just were not getting behind A-Train, Albert, Prince Albert, Tensai, whatever the hell you want to call him, as a monster heel. So trying to protect him here really served no purpose. They had a good story. I'm glad they kind of built this up as, Edge trying to avenge his friend Rey Mysterio and whatnot. Otherwise, I had no idea why this match was happening. I do not recall this feud whatsoever. But it was an alright match. Edge won via disqualification. Kind of a fine for what it was match, but it really didn't serve anyone. It really didn't get anyone over in the end. I mean, Edge scored the victory, but it was via disqualification. And A-Train got attacked anyway, so who really benefited from all of this? After that, we had Chris Benoit taking on Eddie Guerrero in an absolute instant classic. Nothing on the line here. It would sort of imply that a number one contendership spot was on the line, because Benoit, who won here, would go on to challenge Kurt Angle, who won later on in the night. Obviously, spoiler alert, to challenge him for the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view the following month. So still a great match, a rematch, I believe. Oh, not a rematch, actually. I'm thinking it's a rematch from Vengeance of that year, but that was the following year when they faced off in the finals of the tournament to crown an inaugural WWE United States champion. So the first, I believe, one-on-one match between Benoit and Eddie and between Benoit and Eddie and WWE. Just a really, really good match. Got some pretty good time. Got some great time, actually, at almost 18 minutes long. These two just know how to work a crowd. It was kind of weird just because they were both involved in the tag team scene. You had some interference from Chavo that ultimately kind of worked against Eddie and helped Chris Benoit score the victory. But Eddie was one half of the tag team champions at that period in time. They were both 1/3 collectively of the SmackDown 6 in different teams, obviously. But they had a great match here. Benoit scoring the victory and, like I said, building momentum towards that WWE Championship match against Kurt Angle the following month at the Royal Rumble. After that, we had Bautista taking on Kane. For what reason, I have no idea. The match sucked. I've seen this a handful of times on Batista's first DVD. It's included on that DVD because I believe this was his singles one-on-one pay-per-view debut. Scoring the victory, that was really all that mattered. Otherwise, the match was just not good. Women's match, triple threat women's match, Victoria beating Trish Stratus and Jacqueline in a triple threat to retain the women's title. Again, not really a good match at all. It did further the feud between Victoria and Trish without... I think Trish did get pinned. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember. But the match wasn't anything special at all. They only got 4 or 5 minutes. It was hardly memorable whatsoever. So then after that, for the WWE Championship, Kurt Angle beating Big Show for the belt. And what I thought was a pretty good match. Not a great Big Show match, but pretty good for what it was considering it was the fucking Big Show. But when you were in the ring with Kurt Angle, they made the most of it. Angle really carried him to a great match. Big Show was on an absolute roll in the final few months of 2002 in the WWE Championship push that he had in the midst of that SmackDown reign. But I thought he performed well here. Kurt Angle got a really good match out of him. You had interference from A-Train, and then later Brock Lesnar, who lost the championship to Big Show, of course, if you can recall, at Survivor Series the month prior, only to avenge that loss by attacking Big Show here and costing him the WWE Championship on this show, leading to Lesnar and Angle later on down the line at WrestleMania 19. So some great storytelling here. The crowd went nuts for Brock Lesnar. He was a real breakout babyface on SmackDown. Paul Heyman served his role here very well, served his purpose here very well as well, and just a better than expected match. Not a great match, but better than I thought it would be. And then we get to the main event. I forgot to talk about this too. I might as well mention this too. Tori Wilson and Al Wilson and Dawn Marie, rather, not Al Marie. It would have been the other way around. It would have been Dawn Wilson. But that whole angle, they were going to show the tape of Dawn Marie and Tori Wilson in their hotel room, and I guess Dawn Marie was blackmailing Tori, or rather that she wouldn't marry Al Wilson if Tori Wilson didn't do what Dawn wanted her to. All this stupid bullshit. They never ended up showing the video. They showed the first maybe minute or two with Tori and Dawn making out in the hotel room, and then Al put an end to that, and they walked off, so people were pissed, and he was probably the biggest heel on this entire show. So that whole feud was just so trashy as hell. Very memorable, but just super trashy as hell. So then we get to the main event, a 3 stages of hell match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Triple H taking on the then champion Shawn Michaels. And as always, another really good match from these two. I still say their match at SummerSlam was the best match these two ever had against each other one-on-one on pay-per-view, but this was still pretty good. I thought it kind of dragged on longer than it needed to at almost 40 minutes. I'm glad they didn't rush through the 3 stages like that, but then again, they kind of did with the 3rd stage, the ladder match stage. They did in like almost 4 or 5 minutes. Interference from Ric Flair. The match was very much rushed. Not what it could have been. The steel cage match I thought was pretty good, but it always felt like, interference abound. Interference galore in Triple H's. Every single one of Triple H's title matches, from 2002 to 2005. But the match was still pretty good. I thought all 3 stages had something to offer, more so the second one, the steel cage one, than the ladder match, especially in the opener, the street fight, whatever. It just might have been weird that they did the steel cage as the second fall as opposed to the 3rd fall, But still, good storytelling, good match for the most part. Not their best match, but still pretty good. And that closed off Armageddon 2002. So overall, an alright show with some good wrestling. Definitely not a must-see show, or at least as must-see as other pay-per-views from 2002. One of my favorite years in wrestling. Like I said, Benoit and Eddie I thought was the match of the night. Great stuff there, the main event. If you're not a fan of the matches these two had with each other, and I don't know why you wouldn't be, but some of them are more boring than others, it was a good match for what it was. The main event, that is, between Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Angle and Big Show exceeded expectations with their match, and everything else was just kind of throwaway. The tag team title match was fun, as well as the moment with Booker T and Goldust becoming the new World Tag Team Champions. Edge and A-Train was total throwaway. Bautista Kane sucked. The women's title match sucked too. So overall, not a great show, but it did have its moments. Not a complete miss of a show. So check out those mirror moments I just mentioned, whether it be the main event or especially Benoit versus Eddie one-on-one. So that is my review and thoughts on the Armageddon 2002 pay-per-view. As always, guys, thank you for watching and listening. I appreciate your support. My next video, of course, will be covering the 2003 installment of Armageddon. So until then, guys, I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch you fine folks down the road.